Good evening, YouTube. I just thought I'd hop on for a little bit and do some Blender benchmarking. Um, I thought that a, a short little live stream might be more fun to make and hopefully more fun to watch than um, just a typical recording of these kind of videos. So let me know if you don't like the format. But here for about half an hour, maybe not even, I'm going to test Blender 3.6 with HIP and HIP-RT. I did get it to work finally. And I'm testing a RX 6600 and 6700 XT, both AMD GPUs. And I finally got HIPRT to actually upgrade the performance. I couldn't get on my test scene. I call it Diamonds. It's just kind of a water simulation with some glass reflection in it. I couldn't get HIPRT to do anything different, and in fact, it was about 5 to 10 seconds slower on every frame I rendered. So I'm not sure why that was, but um, but yeah. So definitely, definitely excited that I got it running, and so far I've got anywhere from 10 to 20% upgrade, but we'll put some actual results on the board here. So this is just my little results spreadsheet here. I'll keep that open as we test. First things first, if you have an AMD GPU, you need to go to blender.org and go to this page. On the home page, you'll see the Blender 3.6 or 3.6 LTS release notes page, kind of the front page of it, and go to what's new. You click on that, it'll bring up all of the new features for Blender 3.6. What you want to find is the Cycles Hardware Ray Tracing section here. It has some information about improvements for AMD and Intel GPUs. It looks like Intel got a huge upgrade in speed as well with the 3.6 LTS update, so that's awesome. I really, really, really want to test Intel GPUs, so hopefully I can get one soon. Maybe with Prime Day, I don't know, we'll see. But what we want to focus on is HIP-RT here for your AMD GPUs. So if you'll see this note right here, highlighted, it says requires driver version, blah, 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 for Blender 3.6. If you click this here, it's a link. That'll take you right to AMD's software page. Scroll down a little bit and click on this link that says AMD Software Adrenalin Edition driver 22.40.51.06 for Blender 3.6 beta, blah, 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 blah. This link here will take you to the download. It'll just run in your browser. And then you'll want to go ahead and install that. I'm sure there's probably other driver versions that work. I'm not really as familiar with AMD's drivers. It seems like they have multiple different types, and I can't always sort them out. Just not used to them. So, if you know a different driver works, or maybe the pro drivers work better for you, then definitely go ahead and use those too. But this one I know for sure works. So that's a easy, safe bet. You'll have to install the Adrenalin software, and then um, you'll get the right driver from there. Okay, so that's how you get the right driver. And keep in mind, this is only AMD, so this isn't a one size fits all thing. This is for AMD GPUs. Okay, so one note before we start these: the Barcelona scene is running fine with HIP, but if I put HIP-RT on the scene, some of the textures don't load. So for now, I'm just going to actually leave these uh, Barcelona scenes out of here. That's why I have these little tick marks. I'll have to figure out why the textures aren't working. It's mainly the water in the Barcelona scene. You can't see through the surface of the water for some reason. And obviously, if the final frames don't look the same in the render test, it's not going to make a lot of sense to use the results, just because the render speed probably doesn't really mean anything then. So we'll do Classroom and Barbershop for the 6600, and then the 6700 XT, both at the same time. I'll run them in parallel. So let's just get to it. So this first one, this is my Render 5 machine. I'll open the task manager so you can see what it's got. This is one of my old Dells, and this one currently has the 6700 XT installed. And I know my stream is 720p, you probably can't see it, but you'll just have to take my word for it. I'm sorry about the resolution, it's just the nature of my internet options where I live. So as soon as I have a different choice, I will take it, but for now I don't. So anyway, this one's the 6700 XT. So I am just going to go get our first benchmark open. So we'll do the classroom scene first. Open that up. It should open in Blender 3.6 automatically. So for this test, tonight I'm just going to do everything in Blender 3.6. I could test 3.5 versus 3.6, but I don't need to because you can toggle the RT feature of HIP on and off in the settings. So we'll just do it that way. And the only other note is I'm not going to use any denoising because it adds extra loading at the end of the scene. And I'll test that more later. And maybe we'll do a video about like optimizing HIP scenes. But for now, we're going to leave off denoising on all of the tests for now, or for tonight. So I'll go to Edit, Preferences, and we see the 6700 XT is checked on with no HIP RT. So to enable HIP RT, you have to check this little experimental box down underneath the render devices here. So I'll leave it unchecked. We'll start without it. And simply hit Render Image. And now all we do is wait for a minute. And it doesn't take too long. Shouldn't be too bad. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So far the results are all right. The one thing that I'll say though is when driver updates cause a boost in performance, it's just effectively free. So you know, I could say, well, it's not a big jump in performance or whatever, but if it's measurable, then it's a big deal because, you know, you might spend hours and hours and hours rendering. So even a 10% jump is a lot of time and really a lot of electricity. So looks like we're about done with this first test. So what I'll do is I'll grab the render time in seconds for each frame that we do, and I'll throw it on our little spreadsheet so we have it. All right, so this one was 300 samples on HIP. It only took right at 60 seconds. So let's go back. This is Classroom with 6700 HIP. And this was right at 60 seconds. So we'll note that. And then hop right back in. Clear out of this. Go back to Edit Preferences. We'll check on HIPRT. It says experimental there. I haven't had any problems with it yet. Once I got the right drivers. So don't worry about that. You know, if you have crashes and stuff, feel free to report them to Blender. That's always helpful. But yeah, so we have HIPRT enabled. I'll click out of here and render the image one more time. So one other thing I've noticed while testing this is that if you have a really fast scene, especially scenes that take like this less than a minute, you may or may not get a lot of speed up from HIPRT versus HIP. I think it's just kind of like any changes might be within margin of error. So the amount of benefit you get really depends on what your scene is like. So I know that my diamonds test scene that I use all the time on my channel, this absolutely made no difference on there yet, and I can't figure out why. But I also don't have any high-end AMD cards yet. The 6700 XT that you're watching now is the highest end that I have. And by the way, this only took just over 50 seconds, about, we'll say 50.5 seconds. So I'll throw that in here. So that is already a 9.5 second speed up, so that's awesome. So I'll calculate some percentage stuff for you guys here just so we have it, but yeah, that's, I mean, 10 seconds on every frame, that's only a minute long, that's a huge change. Okay, so that's classroom scene. Let's go. We'll close out of that. Don't save the change. And then, like I said, Barcelona, for whatever reason, one of the water texture won't load. The surface won't let the light through or something. So I'll have to look into that. But we'll try to run Barbershop. And this one takes a little bit extra time to load because it is a lot heavier. All right. So this scene is a lot more heavy. I'll turn on the video memory just to make sure that we're not going to run out. Looks like we still have 10.7 gigs free, so that's good. Let's go to Edit Preferences. We'll turn off HIPRT for the first run. And let's just go, let's pull this up. Let's go to, let's just go to frame 100. I'm not sure if the frames matter in this, but we'll just pick frame 100 and then we'll keep it consistent. And no denoising. Render device we'll set to GPU, and then make sure our preferences are right. So HIP with 6700 XT. Render image. Now this one will take a little extra time, so I might go run the 6600 test for the classroom on the other machine, and then we'll come back to this. And then we'll just kind of bounce back and forth. So now this is a good example of the benefit that my storage PC setup has, because I can get into each of these computers individually, and I don't have to cancel all of them. They don't all have to run at the same time. I can work with each one or all of them, so it's pretty awesome. But um, we'll we'll minimize this, and I'm just using Remote Desktop app with Windows 10 Pro, and I can just remote connect to each one of these computers separately. So I'm going to go to Render 4, which is another one of those Dells. It's a T3600 Dell workstation. And this one has the RX 6600 AMD GPU. And it is Prime Week, so if you're looking to get cheap machines, the 6600 is a super good deal. You know, especially for like 1080p gaming. Um, they're like under $200 now, which is great. But you'll see how this performs here. So you can see HIP with the 6600, and I'm going to turn off HIPRT for the first run. We'll hit render image. Again, we're leaving it at 300 samples with no denoising for both tests. So we'll let this one go. Should take just a little longer than the 6700 XT did. Maybe a minute and a half. And I know I think I talked about this on a different stream, but you probably can't see the text up here. Um, we're currently at almost sample 100 out of 300 already. So people ask a lot, wanting to optimize, you know, what's the best GPU? What's the best, you know, is this GPU worth it? Blah blah blah. But um, if you sit and think about it, this is a $200 card right now, and it's able to do these super high fidelity scenes in only a minute and a half or so. So basically, if you're on a budget, you're not going to get stuck with something that just will never render a scene out. Obviously, you're not going to be doing thousands and thousands of frames every day, but you can definitely get animations done with budget hardware now. And that's just something that wasn't a reality when I wanted to start in 3D, and even just 5 or 6 years ago it wasn't the case. So definitely very exciting the way things are going in general. But all right, this scene is done. It took right at 1 minute and 31 seconds. So I'll note that. This is the 6600 classroom test. This was 91 seconds. I'm just going to do everything in just raw seconds so we don't have to deal with converting anything. Save our stuff. And now we'll go run it with HIPRT. I don't know. Let's check on the 6700. Okay, so that's actually almost done with the first run on the barbershop scene. We'll just wait for it here and see what it says. Okay. 4 minutes and 9 seconds. 4 minutes and 9 seconds. So 2:49. And this was the barbershop HIP test with the 6700 XT. 249 seconds. Wow, that scene is quite a bit more intense, huh? Okay, so that one's done. That one's going to take a while to run our new test, so let's get that going. So this is the 6700 XT in the barbershop test, and I'm going to turn on HIPRT. Close our preferences. Now we're still on frame 100. I'm just going to render image. Make sure it gets started here, and then we'll go back to render 4. So one thing you might notice about this setup is that it takes a lot of jumping around. So when I start renders, I share one file to all the computers, but I have to manually start all of them. So that's the only drawback to this render farm setup. You know, it's very flexible if I want to have different machines running, but definitely a lot of work to get them all going if I need all of them. So there's ups and downs to this method. And if you want to see how this setup is configured, I have 2 videos that are from last year that were kind of a render farm setup tutorial. So go check those out if you want to see how I have this all networked and what the hardware is like. But anyway, we got the HIPR test running here on the 6700 XT now. So I'm going to minimize that and we'll go back to render 4 again. Okay, so this one ran the classroom scene with normal HIP. Now we're going to enable HIPRT and we're going to hit render again. Okay, and remember this one took 91 seconds on normal HIP for the 6600 GPU. So we'll see how it does this time. And I would say it's probably a little bit faster on this. I have also noticed though, I think just based on what other benchmarks have shown and comparing the 66 and the 6800 XTs, I think the more RT cores the GPU has, the more speed up you get from this update. So if you have a 6800 XT or higher from the 6000 series, you'll probably get at least middle of the range for speed up. So you'll probably get 15 to 20% boost. And this is just a theory, but I think the biggest speed boosts are going to be on the 7000 series GPUs. Maybe even just the 7900 models. Which we'll have to test those and pass it back and forth to kind of get some solid results. But I think the more RT cores you have, the better this update does. Okay, so this was 1 minute and 19 seconds, just short. So 1:19, we'll go put that in. So definitely an improvement, not massive. 1:19 is 79 minutes, right? 60 plus 19, yeah, 79 minutes. So even the 6600 from just enabling HIPRT got back 12 seconds out of 91, so that's not bad. And I'm gonna come assign some percentages to these here in just a second. But let's hop back onto. Actually, let's get the 6600 going on the class or the what's the other one? The barbershop scene here. So I'll open that. So we'll run barbershop on this guy now because it's going to take a while. The 6700 XT is a bit faster than the 6600, so this benchmark might take about 5 or 6 minutes. So we'll get that loaded up. In the meantime, let's check on the 6700. And it looks like that one's done. Awesome. Okay, so this one got the barbershop scene done in 3 minutes and 33.5 seconds. So that is the HIP RT. So 3 minutes and 34 seconds basically. 180, 200, 14 seconds. So that's a huge speed up. Yeah, that's awesome. Look at that. So the 6700 XT went from 249 seconds to 214 just by checking on the checkbox to enable the RT version of HIP. So that's great. Half a minute for every frame. That's actually more than I thought I'd see on this card, so that's good. Let's see, what else do we have on this? I think just for fun, let's just turn on open image denoising. We'll leave on the RT version of HIP and we'll test it again. And we'll see if the denoising process takes away all of our advantage for the speed boost we got. Hopefully not. But we'll come back to that one in a second. And let's go check on our 6600. I know I'm bouncing around a lot, so hopefully that's not too distracting. But, oh, Blender. Allow scripts. Yes, thank you. Oh, Blender's going to try to crash on us. I know all the Blender users watching probably aren't used to that or anything. Okay. So I'm going to set this to frame 100 so that the results match our 6700 XT. Change the device to GPU. No other setting changes. 800 samples. And then we'll go to Edit. Preferences. We'll turn off HIPRT. We'll run just the 6600 and we'll get that going. Maybe. There we go. Blender is running very slow right now. Well, it's honestly, it's probably the 8-year-old Dell computer, not Blender, but you never know. Okay, so this one is going to take a minute. Let's go check on render 5. So that's about half done. This is the 6700 XT with denoising turned on. And I think these are both going to take a minute. So let's start calculating some percentage improvements here. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just put the difference in percentage right by the HIP RT results. So I'll say equals this over this. And then put that in parentheses and we'll just turn it into a nice pretty percentage. Should we do a percentage speed up? Let's do that. No, we don't want 85. There. Um, Format as percentage with 2 decimals. What are we doing there? Oh, well, there, that'll work. Apparently at midnight I forget how to use Excel. Um, yeah, so then this last column here, these are improvements. Um, so any positive percentage of render speed improvement is shown in black text here. So the 6600 is 13.2% faster on the classroom scene just by enabling HIP-RT. So that's an awesome result. Let's actually just copy this all the way down. And then we'll just delete it where we won't have any data. Yeah, and those will fill in once we get our numbers. Okay, so the other result we already have, I guess. Let's see, what are you comparing to? We don't need these for the HIP versions because those are not going to matter. Okay, so then the 6700 XT was almost 16% faster in the classroom scene and about 14% faster in the barbershop scene just by enabling HIP-RT. And keep in mind these are both the version 3.6 of Blender. So you don't even have to switch versions. You just check on the experimental HIP-RT box and you're good to go. All right. And we're just waiting on a couple results from the barbershop scene with the 6600. That one's going to take a little bit because it's just a lot slower GPU. Well, it's 2/3 done though. So let's check on render 5. Okay, so this one, all I did was turn on denoising, and we got 3 minutes and 46 seconds, which is 180, 226. So denoising added 12 seconds to this scene. So basically, if you wanted to use the denoising in the render settings, you would compare this 226 to this 249 to take out some of your benefit. But honestly, the denoising works well enough, especially for a still frame, that you probably just want to enable it normally. But but yeah, that's how much you lose. You lose about 12 seconds. I do know that on NVIDIA GPUs, it seems to run a lot faster just for denoising. I think OptiX just has that built in a lot better. Um, but 12 seconds to make the scene look nice without adding a whole bunch of samples is really not too much of a sacrifice. Yeah, but that's it for the 6700 XT tonight. I'll probably run some more benchmarks over time, and I'll try to borrow that 6800 XT again. I did have results from the other day. Comparing that to the 6700, it's actually almost twice as fast in Blender, but I haven't tested it with the RT version yet. So we'll have to update that in a minute, but I'll either have to buy one or borrow it. Okay. Let's check on our little 6600 here. Oh, it got done. Okay, 6 minutes and 41. Yeah, we'll round it up. 6 minutes and 41 seconds, and that was just the HIP version. So the next one should be faster. So 6 plus 41, 401 seconds. Sheesh. That's quite a bit slower. And now let's go back and enable HIPRT. We'll run that, and that'll be it for our test for the night. If Blender will load without throwing a fit. Okay, so all I did was enable HIPRT. Go to render, render image. Make sure this doesn't take too long to load. I think this scene is just so massive, that's the problem. A lot of objects, a lot of textures. And here we go. So one thing I always pay attention to when it's rendering is how many samples are worked on at a time. And it looks like right now it's doing about 4. And I thought last time it was doing 5, so I'm not sure what the difference is there, but that's not necessarily telling you the difference in speed anyway. What do we got going? Yeah, so that'll take just a couple minutes. Hopefully there's a big speed up from that. If we don't get a great result on this one, then it'll disprove my theory that the bigger the scene, the better the benefit. But we'll come back in just a minute to check it out. Otherwise, yeah, let me know. Let me know what you want to see me test. I'm kind of thinking I might do like a little goodbye to EVGA video one of these days. I have a couple EVGA cards, and I had a 2080 Ti Kingpin that I just think is the best made card that I've ever had. So that'll be coming up, and then obviously just a lot more tests like this. I think it's hard to find data that's rock solid on this stuff, so I'm hoping I can help you guys just kind of make better purchasing decisions and know what to expect really when you're buying hardware for rendering. Because as you probably know, gaming benchmarks and Blender renders don't really always line up, especially because the tricks that each of the types of software use are not the same, so it's really hard to predict performance from one to the other. Yeah. What else? Otherwise, live stream wise, this week I think I'm gonna launch a little character series where I'll provide you guys the reference images and then we'll all work on it together. So I've seen some bigger YouTubers do that lately, and it seems like a really cool idea. So basically, I'll allow you to download the scene with everything set up, and then we will start the modeling of the character, um, having the same scene together. So I think that'll be really fun. Hopefully, you guys will stop by for that and watch for that. I hope this week. But let's see. Okay, we're half done on this scene. And then once this gets finished up, we'll summarize it, and that'll be it for this quick little stream. Yeah, if you see this, let me know in the comments if you like shorter little kind of random streams, or if you'd rather have kind of a more planned out scheduled stream. I just figure if I'm going to be sitting here testing, I might as well be streaming and talking to you guys. So let me know what you think about it. And it's always fun to have you guys around, and I'm really enjoying this live streaming thing. It's brand new to me, so it's kind of fun and exciting, but we'll we'll be doing more of it soon for sure. So, all right, we're at 550 frames or samples out of 800. Actually, here, let me go back. Let's get back on the 6700 XT machine. So this is the Render 5 machine. Let's go to the Barcelona scene, and I'll show you what happens. So the textures are in here, supposedly. Okay, so when I open the scene, I will set the GPU benchmark scene up in the scene viewer. So I'll go to GPU benchmark, and then preferences. We'll turn off the HIPRT, and then I'll hit F12 to render the image. Okay, so it doesn't take a lot of time, and this one's a little noisy, but you can see there's rocks under the water, so it's definitely working. Okay, so now if I close out of that, go back to edit preferences, and click on HIPRT, and just F12 again to render, you should see this time that the rock texture has disappeared. So it must just be how the shader was set up or something, but HIPRT, maybe the material, but it's not loading the textures or all of the textures properly. I wonder if we can find what's going on. Yeah, I'm just looking at the texture nodes here. Honestly, I'm not really sure what is going on. So, yeah, so I can't use this test right now until I figure it out. But I really don't want to change the scene a lot because it's just not gonna do anything for me to have to modify a standard benchmark. But yeah, see, even in the viewport, the textures just don't come in. So not sure what's going on there, but that's why we did not end up doing the Barcelona scene. I'll say no to saving. And I think we're done with this guy for now. So I'll go ahead and close that. We'll check on our 6600. It looks like it got done a minute ago. All right, and this one did frame 100 on the barbershop scene in 5 minutes and 44 seconds. So definitely an improvement. 5 times 60. I'm just too tired to be doing this in my head, and I don't want to make mistakes. 44. 344. 344 seconds. So, that one actually, well, it saved about 57. Did I do that right? About 57 seconds. So almost a whole minute. I guess that's a pretty significant amount of time. And then we'll put our little percent here. Whoops, missed. There we go. Okay, and I'll save this. So let's just average these for the fun of it and see what we get. Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, so on average, it looks like with the 6600s and the 6700 XTs, we saved 14.3% time. So, and really these didn't vary as much as I thought either. So between 13 and almost 16% time savings just by enabling the HIPRT inside of Cycles with Blender 3.6 instead of just using standard HIP. So all you got to do is check this box under preferences for the render machine. If Blender would load here, all you got to do is check this box here. It says HIPRT and then experimental in parentheses. If you enable that, then you'll have you'll get this free speed up for any AMD GPUs that are, I believe, 6000 series and newer, and that includes the Pro ones. So if you have any W series cards, those will get the improvement too. But yeah, so now Blender will at least a little bit better. It will make use of the ray tracing cores on your AMD GPUs. But that is about it for this stream. I'll close out my scenes here. We can close out of this. So, but there's the results there. I'll leave them up here for a second. Otherwise, leave a comment, leave a chat, and I'll probably run more of these soon once I figure out if people prefer this way or posted videos. So, yeah, if you were here, if you saw it, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. My channel's starting to grow faster than I ever thought it would, so that's been really exciting, and I appreciate your support. But we'll see you in the next one.